everybody to Quarantine Break. I'm Eat Soccer founder Kiana Martin, and I'm so excited for our afternoon session. You're hired. We are featuring Global Human Resource Director, Clintoria Session. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for the invite. I'm excited.
Can you explain to our viewers what is human resources and what sparked your interest in this profession?
So a lot of people have the misconception of human resources. A lot of people, when you hear human resources, they think about hiring and firing people, but we do so much more than just hiring and firing people. Human resources is a large umbrella that encompasses benefits administration, workforce planning and technology, leadership development, overall employee development, performance management, recruitment. We do a lot of virtual trainings and that type thing. And then in some organizations, it varies regarding payroll, but I happen to be responsible for payroll, also under my organization. And I really love what I do because I love people. And just because you love people don't make you a good human resources person. Also, you have to have, a business mindset and be strategic in your thinking. But what really attracted me to human resources was the opportunity to make a difference. That's what I thrive off of. It's knowing at the end of the day, the decisions that I make, the interaction that I have, when I come to the table, I'm representing the people that don't necessarily have a voice, such as the people in the production area. They don't have the opportunities to come to the table. So human resources should be a voice for the people, also keeping in mind the business objectives. So I really enjoy it. It's a nice blend of everything.
So since you mentioned workers and serving as a voice for them, can you tell our viewers what type of company that you work for? Because it's a very, kind of unique company that you're with.
Yes, so we are a international company. Our corporate office, home office is in France. We are a tier 1 automotive supplier. Here in the US, we service BMW, Volkswagen, and Volvo. Abroad, we do Peugeot, Range Rover, Ford, Chrysler, GM, you name it. We've probably touched product or part on that car. But here in the US, our big focus, our main focus is BMW.
What are some of the strategies that you have used to move up the ladder in your field?
Oh, that's a great question. Thinking outside the box, for one. I knew early on that I wanted to do something with people. And it's so interesting. My career path is very interesting. When I first joined the company where I am now, I've been there 20 years. This past February, I celebrated my 20th anniversary. Just to get my foot in the door, I took a position in accounting because I also had an accounting background.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was in accounting for 6 months, hate it. When I tell you I hated every minute of it because the only interaction I had was via computer and on the phone. So I didn't have that face-to-face contact with people, but I knew that was the stepping stone that I needed to get to where I wanted to be. So I was willing to do it. So I was there in that position 6 months. And then a position came open as a HR administrative assistant to, at that time, the HR director. And I went through the bid process and was awarded that job. And I was just willing to do whatever it took to get me to where I wanted to be. And it required me starting from the bottom and working my way up to the top. And I never said no. That was my strategy. Anything that was asked of me, I said, okay. Because I took it as an opportunity for me to learn Degrees are wonderful. Hands-on experience is priceless. It's priceless because a lot of things I joke about with some of my team. I said, some of these issues that we have, we didn't do case studies on this in college.
Mhm.
But a lot of it, you learn as you go. It's hands-on, real world. Everybody's different. You come in contact with so many different personalities, and there are no case studies for that.
Just as a point of reference, when you transitioned from accounting to HR, did you take was it a lateral move, or did you have to take a step back or step down as far as like pay, or was it kind of comparable?
Yeah, it was comparable.
Okay.
Yeah, it was comparable. Um, a lot of people probably saw it as a step back because it was more of a clerical role. But I knew in my mind the bigger picture. And so I was willing to do that. It didn't matter to me what other people thought because I knew where I wanted to be in my career.
Explain what a typical week is like for you as the Human Resources Director for the U.S. operations of a global manufacturer.
My week consists of a lot of meetings, a lot of strategic planning, especially right now with COVID-19. It has changed so many things that you don't even think about. So we have a lot of meetings, daily meetings, weekly meetings. We're having to take different precautions and measures to ensure that employees are safe and that we have a safe work environment. So my weekly picture right now is totally different from the way it used to be before COVID-19. It's busier. We're all learning because we've never experienced a pandemic before.
Mm-hmm.
And even the legislature continuously changes. So it's important for me to remain engaged with our legal staff as well to make sure that the policies and procedures that we're implementing don't pose a legal infraction on employee rights.
Mm-hmm.
Especially now where you may have heard a lot of companies now are going to temperature checks.
Yes.
And starting to implement that as well. So there's a lot of ins and out that goes along with that too that people may not know or understand.
Have you noticed if there are changes with benefits and things like that you all are having to look at to evaluate because of the pandemic?
Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of changes that are coming down the pike from my understanding regarding workers' comp and family medical leave, where now they're changing a lot of the regulations to encompass COVID and COVID complications. But yeah, it's always changing.
In your experience, what are the requirements needed to get in the door as an HR professional?
So, a person can take a couple of different paths. Education, getting a degree in human resources is a plus, but some people, may decide later on that they want to enter into human resources. And, when you're in college, you really don't know what you want to do. You really don't. And a lot of people change their majors frequently, but if a human resources degree isn't appealing to you and you want to do something, you want to have a backup plan, so to speak, I would encourage people to get a business degree, major in business, and then minor in human resources, or major in business and minor in psychology, organizational psychology, or industrial psychology, because that is applicable to human resources as well. And then third, a lot of people don't do either one, and they're already in an organization, and they have a lot of good experience. For instance, you may be a supervisor who's currently, managing a team of people, and then an opening comes open in human resources. You have already developed some skills and knowledge as a supervisor that's applicable to human resources. So you can enter in human resources that way too. So there's different avenues. It's not always all about having an HR degree. because there's a ton of certifications out there too, that a person can take under the SHRM organization, the Society of Human Resources Management. They have a vast number of certifications in HR if you don't have an HR degree that you can also assess.
What are some of the funny and or stressful things that happen in your line of work?
Oh my gosh. Stress is pretty high. Anytime you're dealing with people, you're dealing with their livelihood, you are, there's a lot of stress. Even with terminations, because for me, I always say that the company doesn't fire people, people fire themselves because of their behavior. So, because if you don't give me a reason to fire you, I'm not going to fire you unless we're doing a downsize. But your behavior, you know, every behavior requires a reaction. So if you go to work acting crazy and violating policies and that type thing, yeah, okay, you're gone. But yeah, there's been a lot of, oh my God, in my 20 plus years, there's been so many crazy things that have happened. Trying to think of one.
It's interesting you have to kind of go through your file of a number to pick out. So
yeah, I'm trying to think of one. One crazy story was not long ago. We had an employee who was out of work. He came back, and this is a crazy but sad, kind of strange story too. He came back, and we have a point system for the production area for the hourly employees. So once you exceed your number of points, then you're terminated for attendance. So he was out, he came back, and he was on an off shift, which was, I think he was on second shift at the time. He was on second shift. And he wanted to be on days. Everybody wants to be on days most of the time. And so in order to get on days, he told the HR manager who is on my team, he told her that his kid had died.
oh my goodness.
Yeah, his kid had died, and that he needed to be on day shift to support his family. So, you know, we're being all sympathetic. Did some digging because we were asked for an obituary. Never got the obituary. Come to find out he was lying.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I'm like, who does that? Who does that? Who tells somebody your kid died and your kid didn't die? Who does that? And it was all because he wanted to be on day shift. That was strange.
That is strange. Can you tell us some interesting things about HR professionals or just the HR profession that the average person wouldn't know?
I would say yes. Again, that goes back to the whole hiring and firing thing, because a lot of people think that's all we do. And if we're not hiring and firing, we're just sitting there doing absolutely nothing, which is not the case. You have to have a business mindset, especially in this day and time where things are constantly changing. The laws are constantly changing. You have to be a representative of the company and know exactly what you do within that company. For instance, we injection mold and paint automotive parts. And in order to attract talent, you have to be able to sell the environment at the company. So for us and my team, it's a requirement for them to go on the shop floor, walk on the shop floor, and understand our processes. And for some, that may sound kind of strange because you're in human resources and you really don't operate a machine or equipment or any of that. But no, for me, it's a requirement because one, it makes you relatable to the employees. And two, it gives you a sense of ownership, because if you know what we do, then it helps you in making decisions on the back end of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for me, it was interesting when I first came into the company where I am now to see how a bumper is made. A bumper starts out as a little pellet. It's like a BB, and it's plastic resin. And so you have this box of plastic resin that feeds into this huge hopper, and it goes into a press, and it comes out as a bumper. And so just to see that whole process, it was very intriguing, and it's very beneficial for my team to know exactly what we do so that you can explain it. If I'm trying to recruit you to my company and I can't tell you what we do, you're going to look at me like, oh, well, I don't know, because they're clueless. No, it's important for my team to know everything we do from beginning to end. And that's what people, I think, don't understand about HR. You have to know your business.
That's amazing. Share 2 or 3 things that students can do to make a lasting impression when called in for an interview.
Preparation, 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 preparation. Appearance. Appearance is so important, especially we live in a society where people like to stereotype people by their appearance. On the flip side of it, we had a job fair this past October. Yeah. We had people that showed up to the job fair with bare shoes and lounge pants. Yeah. Yeah. No, you don't do that. You want to put your best foot forward. Show up like show up like you want the job. If you're coming in, your pants are hanging past, and I see your underwear. You come in with your house slippers and your lounge pants. I've seen it all. I could tell you. It's crazy. And when I say preparation, do your homework on the company that you're going to, because you should be interviewing me as well as I'm interviewing you, because it's a relationship. So go on the company's website, gather information, have you at least 5 questions prepared to ask when you walk in the door, because that shows the person who's interviewing you that you're interested. You're really interested in the company. And don't always talk about money. Money's important, but I tell people your success is not measured by the number of dollars that you make. Money's not everything. So when you go into an interview, be prepared, have your questions, listen. I find out with some of the younger people, they don't listen. Some people can come across as a know-it-all, you know what I mean? But you're not an expert. You're really not. So listen to the question, be articulate. When it comes to resumes, less sometimes is more, because you only have a couple of seconds to gather the attention of the recruiter. So if you have this resume and you have all these different font sizes and these squiggly squirgly kind of font and all these words and stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with the job that you're applying for, yeah, that's overkill. So you have one chance to make a first impression, and it starts with your resume. Your resume will open that door. So
now you mentioned that dovetails into our next 2 questions. You talked about the things that they need to not do on their resume, and you spoke about people who stood out as not memorable candidates in the right way. Do you have a candidate or 2 that comes to mind who did everything right? Maybe they were exceptional. They just left a really good lasting impression on you or a member of your team.
Oh, absolutely. Matter of fact, I hired her. She was very prepared. She came to the interview. She did research on our company. She knew our financials because it's posted on the website. She knew our financials. She knew the corporate strategic plan. She asked me hard questions, not just general basic questions. She asked me about the strategy for the team. She asked me about personal development for the position that she was applying for. She wanted to know what the career path was for the position that she was applying for. She asked about our processes and exactly what we done in the facility that she was applying for, the position for. She had done all her homework, and it blew me away. It was one of the best interviews I've ever had in my life.
Yeah. That's awesome. For students who are interested in learning more about embarking on a career as a human resource professional, what resources do you suggest they take a look at?
I would encourage anyone that's interested in a career in human resources to go to the SHRM website. They have so much information out there. It's SHRM, SHRM.org. Go to their website. You can actually go in and type in questions and the answer will pop up. They have different certifications, as I mentioned earlier. I would do that. And then also with students, take some internships, volunteer in the summertime. I know a lot of companies are looking for students. Sometimes they're paid and unpaid positions. Don't walk away from unpaid positions. That is real world experience, hands-on experience that will benefit you long-term. Yeah.
Lastly, what is the best piece of career advice you would give your younger self?
Don't be afraid to take risk. Early on, I grew up as an introvert. And so I second guessed everything. And early on, I also thought within this little box. I would say really early on in my career. Sometimes life teaches you hard lessons, and it taught me lessons. So now I'm just like, okay. But yeah, to my younger self, I would say, don't be afraid to take risk. It's okay. And failure is part of the process, because growing up, you're always taught not to fail, right? You're riding your bicycle, learning how to ride a bike, and you fall, and falling is an error. But some of my greatest lessons have been learned in failure. So I would tell my younger self, don't be afraid to take risk.
Thank you so much for sharing your amazing story and insight with us, Clintoria. And thank everyone else for joining us for Quarantine Break. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.